stress is normally around a specific thing. So i.e., in the work environment, you have a deadline. And then you get stressed, you get worked up. Anxiety tends to be more a condition, normally from childhood, where you didn't feel safe or protected. And in that moment, your subconscious mind goes, I'm not safe, and then your protection mechanism, your fight, flight, or freeze response becomes overclocked. And so what that means is, if the stimulus was taken away, if the stress was taken away, someone suffering from anxiety will tend to just look for other reasons to be anxious. They'll worry about the fact they're not worrying sometimes. Make sense? So, for today's purposes, they can both be treated with some of these tools, but in terms of environmental change, so if you're looking to change your work environment, and go, okay, we need to change the pressure here, we need to do things like that, and you realise that the person you're working with isn't any less stressed, then it's probably an anxiety condition. We associate, as human beings, danger to certain things. So as a child, you touch a hot stove, your brain goes, ooh, that hurt. Let's not do that again. Very useful mechanism. Better not walk down this dark alley at midnight. Useful, keeps you safe. So what happens when we have a negative experience? Our brain, our amygdala, the reptilian brain, who knows the triune brain? Triune brain. So it's a metaphor. You've got three parts of the brain. It's not literal, but you have your reptilian brain, which deals with these survival mechanisms. So you go into your fight, flight, or freeze response. And so within that, you have your amygdala, which kicks off whenever you're afraid, to tell you to run, to tell you to hide, to tell you to play dead, fight, flight, or freeze. And so then, whenever you see that thing in future, your brain goes, this equals danger, avoid. Who here knows of Ivan Pavlov and his dogs? Most people, yeah. So they rang the bell, fed the dog. Rang the bell, fed the dog, rang the bell. Eventually the dog salivates like it's about to be fed. Now, the bell has nothing whatsoever to do with food, but the two become linked. So us as human beings, if we kiss the love of our life, and we hear a tune on the radio and that's playing, we can hear that tune a year later, 3 years later, 10 years later, and we can be back there feeling all those positive emotions, like it just happened, because our brain remembers that stimulus, that Pavlovian response. Like a couple of years ago, I had to do my own painting, which is not something I normally do. I had to do my own DIY. And I'm painting the house, and I had the radio on, there's this tune that they kept looping. I think the radio station only had like 4 tunes. And they're playing this tune, and now whenever I hear this tune, I can literally smell paint. It just throws me back to that moment. So certain tastes, certain smells, conditions all the time, both positively and negative. But when we have a fear, when we have a phobia, when we have stress, it's exactly the same thing. We're conditioned to enter the office and suddenly be overwhelmed. We're conditioned to look at a spider and want to run away, or a dog, or whatever we're phobic of. Make sense? Who here knows of Little Albert? Little Albert, the study of Little Albert. So it's another behavioural. Who here, by the way, is a behavioural? NLP, CBT, something like that? Behavioural therapist, yeah. So, Little Albert in the 1960s, this was when psychologists could do what the hell they liked. This is showing how powerful conditioning is. They took a very small baby and they showed him all these animals. So they showed him a rat and a dog and a stuffed toy. And he's playing with them, he's happy, he doesn't have any conditioned fear to these things. And then they get a gong. And they bang a gong behind him. Every time he goes to stroke the animal, bang a gong. So it puts the child in this shock feeling. Bang a gong, shock feeling. What do you think happens after they've done that a few times?
Probably afraid of the thing that's in front of them.
Became afraid of rats, dogs, anything white, because the rat was white. So even though it was the sound, even though it was the child, it had nothing whatsoever to do with the animals. The brain had associated the two. And this is why when I do my phobia work, I can have people come to me with phobias of oranges, or water, all sorts of weird things, because they've just wrongly associated pain to that thing. So let's say they're in a high stress state, or they fell back in the head, and as they come to, as a small child without the cognitive function, they're looking at that chair, going, pain, see the chair, pain, see the chair, to become that pavlovian response, that conditioned reflex.